Good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Ask the Finance Diva podcast. My name is Shoni Sharper, your gracious host, and tonight we'll be discussing the 8 most common reasons or mistakes people make when using credit. And excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse tonight, so just be patient with me. So, recapping last week, we talked about credit and the proper usage of credit, using it as leverage. So, the number one mistake most people make when using credit is to use credit cards the incorrect way. And what I mean by that is people will use credit essentially as if they're borrowing money to pay it back at a later date. Now, most of you do not read the credit card agreement, and no one likes paying interest. A lot of us, we want to use money, but we don't want to pay interest. And credit cards, generally, if you have okay to good credit, will have the highest interest rate when using money. So, credit cards, let's talk about that. Since it's the number one reason most people, the mistake most people make by using their credit cards the wrong way. Okay. So, credit cards are never meant for you to leave a balance. That's why you have a due date and a statement closing date. The due date is when you should pay the balance in full. Why? Because if there's a balance, when the statement date rolls around, that is when interest accrues. Now, no one wants to pay 18%, no one wants to pay 22%, and surely no one wants to pay 29% just to borrow money. So if you read the credit card agreement, you would know that credit cards are a short-term financing vehicle, meaning you were never you were never supposed to leave a balance at the end of the month, at the end of the statement date, essentially. So why two different dates? And I'll tell you why. Not every credit card issuer can be as fabulous as American Express, meaning when you make a payment to American Express, generally, even before they collect the money from your bank, it's available to use right away. That's how savvy they are. Now, most banks, they have processing times. So if you make the payment by the due date, whether it's holidays, whether it's the weekend, most cards, there will be 3 to about 8 days difference in the due date and the statement closing date. And the reason they do that is to give you time to process so that if you paid it off in full, there'll be no interest charged to you because you have time before interest accrues. Okay. So to recap what I just said, credit cards are a short term financing vehicle. And if you're using it the right way, you would be using them. Let me just say this because last week we talked about a lot of people thinking credit cards are debt. And I made the distinction to say that credit cards are not debt, they are leverage. And more importantly, it's one of 4 different forms of payment. Okay. So you can pay with cash, you can pay with a check. Most people don't pay with checks anymore. You can pay with a debit card, and you can make a payment with a credit card. Out of those 4, only one of them comes with leverage. And what I mean by that is you can use the money now and pay it later. And if you pay it back by the due date, you don't pay any interest. Okay? No interest. So, if let's say you went to the grocery store and you purchase groceries. Now, most people use their debit card to purchase groceries. Savvy folks will use a credit card Why? There's points and other things associated with it, but it also gives you time to let your money stay in your bank account a little bit longer. So you don't use the credit card to get in debt. You use the credit card to pay for what you already have cash in the bank to cover, right? If you use your debit card, it's essentially just like cash because as soon as you swipe it, it's pulled from the bank account and it's immediately um, out of your cash flow, right? So if you use a credit card, let's see, today is the 23rd. So let's say your credit card um, due date, the payment due date is on the 13th of March. Now, if you use the debit card to buy the groceries, the money is gone. However, you have the money in the account, your checking account. So if you use a credit card, now you've used leverage because you've bought the same thing, but you already have the money to pay it back before any interest accrues. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. All right. So if you use credit cards the way that they were intended for you to use them, it allows you to stack your cash flows. Now, the money will eventually leave, but it's staying in your bank account a little bit longer. I don't know if your bank statement shows this. However, a lot of banks use your average daily balance, okay? Average daily balance. So, a lot of you, because you're using your debit card, your average daily balance is very low because you're not using what credit cards give you, which is more time. Okay? Now don't use the credit card and then also use the money in the account. Let the money stay in your bank account and then just have that payment auto draft out of the credit card on the 13th so that if your statement closes on the 16th or the 21st, you're good to go. All right. So that was the first mistake most people make when using credit. Number two, the second common mistake most people make is to apply for too much credit too soon. When you do that, you look desperate. You look desperate. They're like, why do you need? Okay, it's one thing to rate shop. Let's say you're in the market for a car. The worst thing you can do is allow the dealership to pull your credit because one, they are not shopping the rate with lenders for your on your behalf. They are shopping on their own behalf. They're essentially acting as a broker. So that's why it takes so long. Always, 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 if you're going to get a car, go in with your own financing. Okay. Figure out how much the car costs, call your bank or credit union, and apply directly there. So it's one inquiry. Never, never, never let a dealership pull your credit because they are getting paid on the back end of the loan. I know. I do small business lending. I don't charge my clients anything up front because the bank pays me to bring the file to them to close the loan. Okay. So the dealership does the same thing. All right. So never shop cars with multiple lenders. The old models used to allow you to, if you were, let's say you're having CarMax pull your credit and you're also having BMW Financial pull your credit. And let's say you're also having, because you're shopping for a car, and let's also say you're having Chevy Motors, Chevrolet to pull your credit, right? In the same day, because you're shopping, the old model used to allow some grace because you're they realize that people want to get the best rate. The new model, probably because a lot of Turo people, a lot of people in Turo, um, they apply for multiple loans, and so the new model does not allow for that because FICO 8 used to. That's the last model that allowed you to shop for the exact same thing, and then the inquiries would adjust because they thought that you were just shopping, to get the best deal. Not so much. Everything is savvy. A lot of banks will kind of give you guidelines on where your interest rate may be based on, if you have like a 680 to a 700, if you want to finance for 60 months to 84 months. So they kind of give you a range if you know your own credit score before you pull. And because of that, if you shop mortgage rates, if you shop auto rates, you will get dinged more with FICO 9 and especially FICO 10. All right. Again, I have to say this again. Thanks to all the people on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, literally putting this information out. You've allowed banks to know exactly what you're doing so that they can give feedback to the FICO scoring model to make those adjustments so that people are not going out and financing 8 cars and then, if Turo doesn't work, now you've got 4 that are in repossession and the bank loses, okay? Now, let's talk about the third thing. The most common mistakes people do, they will close accounts. So you have to be intentional when you apply for something. You have to think long term because any account that you apply for, if you don't plan to use it long term, there's no need for it. Um, I've taught this for years that store cards show that you are a consumer. And if you watched last week, I did discuss that too. So this is a good time to say if you did not watch last week's live, go back. I was teaching a good lesson. All right. So be intentional about what you apply for. Think long term. Is this sorry, let's turn this off. Think, is this a bank I want to deal with for a long time? Is this a company I'm going to give my business to long term? The answer is no. Do not apply for it. Now, the reason bank cards are prima, they're at the top, because you can use them at Macy's, you can use them at Best Buy, you can use them also at Rooms to Go. As long as it has, if it's Discover, Amex, if it has the Visa or MasterCard logo. And because a lot of y'all start to, invest in credit education and different things, now Rooms to Go has partnered with banks and you can get like the Best Buy with the Visa or MasterCard logo. Still, only use bank cards. Banks are lenders, they give you capital, not consumer goods. So, yes, Best Buy, Macy's, Rooms to Go, they all offer now their own branded card with an Amex or with a Visa or logo symbol on it so that you can also use their card in other stores. It's still not lending from a bank. So overall, it still doesn't matter. Okay? So let's now talk about the fourth thing or the fourth common mistake most of y'all are making when it comes to credit. So we've talked about the improper usage, using credit cards the wrong way. We talked about We talked about using your credit cards the wrong way. We also talked about applying for too much credit too soon. Then we just now discussed the type of credit, like um, bank cards versus non-bank cards, okay? And closing the account. So a lot of y'all will start off with those First Premier, Merrick Bank, all of this. They charge monthly fees, whether you use the card or not. They will never give you large limits because, again, they're never the purpose of those cards are not to help you build credit or your portfolio because they're not a lender. Their ultimate goal is to get your cash flow, which is why they have, like, if you make a payment and you want that payment to be applied today, they charge you a fee for that. Also, they also charge you a monthly fee whether you use a card or not. Why? Because they're not a bank. So they have to make money some type of way. You use that card for years. Now you got a decent little score, even though the highest limit they gave you was like 2,500. And now you're tired of paying the monthly fees on that. So what do? You close the account. You cannot close, especially revolving. Now, installment loans already have a ending date built into the loan. So whether it's 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, or longer, eventually that trade line is going. You're going to pay it off. Hopefully, if you're using, if you're managing your money correctly and all that good stuff. Um, and so that one's automatically going to close at a certain point, even if you even if you pay that off sooner than the date, it hurts your score. And the reason it hurts your score is because every trade line needs data, it needs payment history. So if you are opening accounts, especially with the First Premiers and all of that, and then years later, and that is your oldest trade line, you are going to devastate your score because all the history you built up with the First Premiers and all those other cards, yeah, that's why be intentional about who you want to do business with. It's relational. It goes back and forth. Okay. You should be getting something out of it. They should also be getting something out of it. Okay. All right. Now, missing payments. Come on, y'all. Missing payments. I talked about this last week again, and making payments on time is so crucial to the score. It is because lenders, when you sign for something, I don't care if it's an installment loan or even when you activate your credit card, when you apply for a credit card and they say you're approved, you got to go through all those disclosures and things, and you're clicking you agree electronically, you are signing for that. Okay. So if you are signing for a credit card, for a car loan, for student loans, for anything that you sign for, and there's a due date and an amount that you're obligated to, you have to pay it on time. Hi, Bianca. Thank you so much for joining live. I always appreciate you every week. Yes, you like the background? Yes, I told you I would be doing something new this week. But anyway, on time payments. It is so crucial to make payments on time. You know why? Because they want their money on time. If you go, when you go to work on Fridays, whatever day you get paid, you want your money on time. So does the bank. So that's why it's 35% of the score. Okay. 35% of the score. Yes, life happens. It does. And that's okay. Last week, I told you, you have to be proactive instead of reactive. If you're proactive in between jobs, hospital, um, you get sick, whatever happens, you can always pick up the phone, call the creditors, and let them know what's going on. They will give you time because the fact that you were proactive instead of waiting 30 plus days until the late hit your credit, then you want to call and try and negotiate, they don't understand that. Just like if you went to work, you put them 2 weeks of working in, and now it's time for your paycheck. And they say, well, something had happened, or whatever, you're not going to understand, right? You're not going to understand. I told y'all, anytime I teach on credit, I'm always going to give you real world experience. So hopefully it stays with you. Okay. Hopefully. So make the payment on time. That was number 4. All right. Another Another common mistake we make with credit: co-signing, co-signing, co-signing. You can't use it, if it's your child. I'll say this: do not put your name on an obligation for anyone else if it will personally affect your cash flow. You shouldn't do it. If you're married, um, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to tell y'all what to do in your marriages and nothing like that. But hopefully, you're equally yoked and you both have excellent credit. You both um, financially are doing what you need to do, unless one person is bringing home the bread and the other person is taken care of. Even if you are a stay at home mom or housewife or any of that, you should also be building credit. Don't let everything be on one person's name, right? So, co signing, marriage relationships, again, y'all definitely need to be checking credit reports and other things like that before you join in with the other person. Know how savvy they are because what they do affects you too. You know, if y'all supposed to be one, their debts becomes your debts and vice versa. But for kids, co-signing for your child to get a car, as a parent, you know your child. If your child is going to take advantage of the situation, don't do it because you're not teaching them anything. And in the long run, you're hindering their growth and responsibilities. However, if you have a child who is building, they're trying, they're doing, they're on the come up, definitely help them out. It's going to help them with their credit too. And then after maybe a year or so, your child has been making payments on time. You can always go to your credit union, make sure that the payment is coming out of the child's account every single month on time or early. So they have a record of on time payments. Okay. Then you can refinance the car out of your name and into your child's name on their own. So co signing for a child, absolutely. Also, do that with caution. You don't want to um, allow your child to take advantage of the situation and not, you know, um, leave you hanging while they out, driving and all this other kind of stuff. So anybody else, sibling, friend, coworker, other stuff, don't do it. Don't do it. You can send them to my course so they can, learn how to manage credit, learn about credit, all that good stuff. But stop co-signing for people. There's a reason they have bad credit. Don't let them drag you down to the ground with them. Okay. Your credit score is sacred. Treat it as such. All right. That was number 5. Let's talk about number 6. Not monitoring your credit. Not monitoring. Yes, we all, There are some people, they know they've never missed a payment. So they may not think they need to monitor their credit, right? Um, Wrong. The worst thing you can do is go to apply for something and get denied and be embarrassed, okay? Because someone has stolen your credit. Um, you know, Maybe you co-sign for somebody. Like I said, you think they're making the payment on time and they're not. And so you're trusting that they're doing the right thing. And because you have that faith, you think that your credit is okay. Now you go apply for a loan, home loan, car, whatever it is you apply for, and you get denied and you're shocked. Don't be embarrassed. Monitor your credit every single month. Know what's on there, know your score. You should know what's reporting before you apply for anything. You should know your score. And the best um, Credit Karma is not a FICO score; it's a FACO score or Vantage score. FICO scores are what lenders use. So myfico.com is the best source to monitor your credit, to know where you stand. It gives you tips and all kinds of things to help you build your credit along the way, the correct way. Okay? All right, let's talk about number 7. The number 7 mistake y'all are making with credit is building the wrong way. Now, Shoni, what do you mean by building the wrong way? Isn't it trade lines is trade line is a trade line? No, I talked about this last week. Not every account is good. Who does business with you matters. I can't stress that enough. It's easy to get store cards, especially, when you're new to credit, you don't have bad credit, the store needs to sell. So as long as you ain't got nothing negative, they will give you a card. They will, because no credit is better than bad credit. So if you're 18, 19, you're just starting out, do not put a Bed Bath and Beyond, a Victoria's Secret, anything with Comenity Bank, and I forget the other one, but y'all stop that. Okay, that is not building credit the right way. It is building credit the wrong way, because again, y'all are going to, down the road, some years, when you start getting the bank cards and other stuff, those will be like 6 months. And because your credit score is looking good, like you like, okay, I'm like at a 720, like my credit's good. I don't need those other cards no more. I'm tired of the fees. I'm tired of all the headaches that come along with it. And then you close it. You just devastated your score because the things that you built in the past that has all the history that you've built over the last 4 or 5 years, even though you do not want those cards anymore, you got to keep them. You got to keep them. Revolving is supposed to do what? Revolve. It's supposed to revolve. So, like, we go together. Ain't no breaking up, And if you break up, bad things happen. That's how it is. So, even with banks, like, I can't tell you how many clients I have. They had a good relationship. Wells Fargo, something happened. Now you mad at Wells Fargo. You got 2 cards with Wells Fargo that's 10, one's 10, one's 15 years old, and you want to close that? Are you crazy? No, you can't. Like, it's not personal. It's not. You don't have to bank with them to keep the card, but you open the revolving card, you have to keep it. Now, I get if there's a moral issue with a bank or something like that, I'm never going to tell you, hey, keep the card open, for credit's sake. Just know that that decision will have an impact on your score and on your record. Okay. And this is how the impact will look. So last week and the week before, I told you guys, well, not the week before, last week, I told you guys about credit reports are how savvy you are. And we all know your report card from school um, measures how well you understand and master a certain particular grade. So just think about credits. You get credits in college, right? And you also get credits in high school, right? So let's say you took a course, like an honors course, or even an AP or dual enroll course, right? And I think AP is the best example because with AP, if you don't like what you scored on the test, then you don't have to have that course count for your college credit, right? But let's say it was a good score, right? Let's say it was a B plus. And then you get to college and you say, no, like I don't want that credit. So the B plus and all the hard work you did in high school to earn that grade, you just gonna tell them I don't want the relationship. That's how it is if you open a card, especially revolving, with a bank. A bank is a lender that matters. It carries weight, okay? Because you are doing business with the financiers of the world. Like Best Buy ain't no financier. Neither is Victoria's Secret or any of that. They sell products. So keep that in mind. They are not the same. They are a trade line. They will report on time payments, etc. But you can't build a what they call it when you get um like you want the president's list. You want to be on the president's list, right? You want straight 100s across the board, right? So you need to build your portfolio with banks and those who carry weight, right? That was number 7. You don't want to do all that work. And because you no longer like First Premier and all of that, you got to cut that relationship and mess up your score. You don't want to take 10 steps forward and 20 steps back when it comes to building credit. All right. All right. Number 8. What do y'all think it is? Put in the comments. Tell me. Y'all thinking what I'm thinking? Y'all thinking what I'm thinking? This is easy. Not you having a mindset like, what is that man's name? I mentioned him last week. Dave Ramsey. Like you don't use credit. That right there will have you messed up because you have to use credit. Your car insurance rate is based on your credit score more so than your driving record. Like you can be a person who has never had an accident, you've not had a ticket, but because your credit score sucks, that also shows them that look, your insurance lapses all the time. Why? Because fundamentally, you don't pay obligations, right? So your credit score brings down your insurance rate. And it's not even that you are risky when it comes to driving recklessly. It's that insurance companies need them payments. They have to make, they gotta, if somebody gets in a car accident or something, they gotta pay it out. So they are counting on that income. And then when you pay your insurance or anything else late, your insurance rate is going to reflect that more so than if you get in a car accident or get a ticket. Okay. So you have to use credit. Number 8, you got to get in the credit game. Everything. There are employers who will check credit. If you are doing anything within the finance industry, they check your credit. If you want to go work at a jewelry store, they check your credit. If you want to be a financial advisor, work for a a brokerage firm, Amex, Charles Schwab, any of those, they will check your credit because credit talks about the character of the person when it comes to money. The Bible says, money answereth all things. Like money isn't everything, and so is credit. So if you're using cash for everything, you missing the boat. You will not be able in, I would say, the next 10 years or so, people who use cash and all of that, everything is going digital. Everything's going to debit plastic. So cash, you can see they're not even printing certain coins and certain dollars anymore because it doesn't make sense to do so, right? We're going digital and credit. All right. So let's see if we can recap the top 8 things that is destroying or the mistakes you're making when it comes to credit, and it's destroying your credit score and your ability to have financial freedom, and all that good stuff. And more importantly, you are sending your wealth away. If you're paying higher interest rates, that is a wealth transfer. So you're paying higher interest rates when you finance a car. You're paying higher interest rates on your student loan. You're paying higher interest rates when you buy a home. All of the extra money, because you're paying higher interest, is going out the door. Credit matters. Credit matters. All right. So, the number one mistake people are making is using credit cards the wrong way. They are maxing them out. You are using it to buy things you can't afford. You are using it the incorrect way. Number two, you are making payments late. You have to stop making payments late. Pay your bills on time. You know, when I am doing workshops, I ask people all the time, raise your hand if you like to pay bills. Of course, no one raises their hand. So if you don't like to pay bills, stop creating new ones. Simple, right? You control what outgo based on your spending. So if you hate bills or you don't like bills, stop creating a new one, unnecessary bills. As soon as you pay out, most of y'all don't even pay off the car before you go get a new one. After 1 or 2 years, a new one come out, you want to trade it in, you still upside down. And all you're doing every single time is getting further and further into debt. Don't you like money? If you like money, your actions got to show it. You got to make some decisions to keep more of it, right? All right. Number 3, closing your credit card accounts. Y'all closing credit card accounts, and I done told y'all, I done told you, if you open it, especially revolving, you got to keep it. It's just how it is, All right. Number 4, applying for too many loans or credit cards at once. The days of being able to shop rates are long gone. And the reason is you have access to your score. A lot of banks will tell you right on their website, you're looking for a car and your credit score is between 680 and this is the rate for a 3-year. This is the rate for 48 months. This is the rate you're going to pay, and they'll give you the range. And even some of them have pre-qualifications, okay? That they'll give you your rates and terms before they even do a hard pull so that you already know what the payment's going to be before you hit apply and they pull your full report. Okay. Number 5, co-signing. Now stop co-signing for people. You do. Like, stop. Your credit is sacred. Treat it as such. Okay. Treat it as such. It matters. All right. Did I say missed payments? Maxing out cars, applying too much, missed payments, closing credit, co-signing. not checking your reports, right? You have to monitor your credit. You have to. Like, don't be out here in these streets, like, hey, you know what? I pay my bills on time. You going all putting your information on the loan at the bank, all confident, and they come back and tell you denied. Like, don't be in that situation. You don't have to. Monitor your credit. Monitor. It's simple. You should know before they know. All right. So using cards the wrong way, missing payments, closing accounts, co-signing, not checking or monitoring your credit, maxing out your credit cards, right? That's number 6. Um, what else was it? Did we talk about co-signing? That was 1. That was number 7. And utilization. Maxing out the card, not, not paying it on time. All of those things, guys, like the type of credit as well. We did talk about that. So, type of credit. The type of credit you use matters. Lenders versus all the others. You want not store cards. You want bank cards, not store cards. Those, if you follow those things, eventually over time, you'll build a healthy portfolio and your credit report will show not only that you understand credit, but you are a savvy person who can manage money and understand finances. Okay. All right. So thank you for tuning in to Ask the Finance Diva podcast. Join me next week where we will follow up again. Next week, we're going to talk small business lending 101, and the mistakes that you are making that are costing you, that are causing banks to deny your loan. All right. Have a good night. I'll catch you at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week.